Hey man, say man, this is the A-Man Show back at it again for more content. In the year 2016, a 6'10.4" by the name Ben Simmons from Australia was destined to be great at such a young age. This guy was projected to be the next LeBron James, given how he has the finishing ability along with the ball handling, court vision, and the athleticism to dominate his opponents. And Simmons is only a jump shot away from being truly unstoppable in the NBA. His upside is great enough to the point that he could well be the best player in the NBA one day and continues forth for many years to come and will be the best player in his generation. Despite his early success in Philadelphia, making multiple All-Star appearances and made all defensive teams, and at one point was second in DPOY voting behind Rudy Gobert back in 2021. He was one of the most laziest, most mentally weak and passive players I have ever seen and the league has ever seen. And it was reflected in Game 7 of the second round against the Atlanta Hawks and at training camp, where he was very lackadaisical to the point that Doc Rivers himself kicked him out of practice or back issues due to quote-unquote mental health issues, him refusing to develop a reliable jump shot, and so on and so forth. All of these events has led to this deep downfall in the NBA to the point that he's often considering retirement at the ripe young age of 29, because no one in the league is taking a lazy, non-shooting forward who is somewhat of a capable playmaker and defender, but is a liability on offense in general. So in this video, I'm going to discuss why Ben Simmons is the biggest disappointment in the last 25 years. But before this video starts, make sure y'all subscribe. I post NBA content and my goal is to hit 1,000 subs by the end of the year. So subscribing to the channel and also smashing the like button helps support the growth of this channel and makes a huge difference. And that out of the way, let's get the video started. So Ben Simmons was a highly touted prospect coming out of high school. He was the #1 player in the class of 2015 and committed to LSU, where he dominated his competition with his physical gifts and his ability to play make, and his potential on defense is off the charts. From there, he was the consensus first overall pick selected by the Philadelphia 76ers. Based on the process the Sixers implemented through Sam Hinkie, it already surrounded guys like Joel Embiid, a future MVP, and the offseason moves they made, such as getting JJ Redick, Robert Covington, Marco Bellinelli, Dario Saric. They have multiple shooters around Ben Simmons in his rookie season, because prior to that, Simmons missed the entire season due to a metatarsal tear on his foot, and since then, the Sixers front office have done all they can to get the guys that fit with Ben Simmons' play style. In his rookie year, you can just tell that Ben Simmons has the potential to become an unstoppable player in the NBA, and literally a jumper away towards being that. In the 18th season, he averaged 16 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists, while shooting 54% from the field, despite him not shooting any threes. He became one of 3 rookies in history that averaged at least 15, 8, and 8, and that was Oscar Robertson and Magic Johnson, 2 of the greatest point guards ever. Also, he won Rookie of the Year in one of the more stacked Rookie of the Year races ever, and helped lead the Sixers to their first playoff appearance since 2012 with a 52-30 record, and was the 3rd seed in the whole entire Eastern Conference. The Sixers as a whole was at one point viewed as championship contenders, especially when Kyrie went down with injury, and the Raptors, despite them having the best record in their conference, no one took them seriously as a contender. It was looking more true for the Sixers, especially them winning a series against the Miami Heat in the first round, where Simmons elevated his game, averaged 18, 11, and 9, almost a triple-double on 50% shooting. Now against the Celtics, it was a different story. The Celtics blew the brakes out of the Sixers in a gentleman's sweep in the second round, and Ben Simmons absolutely underperformed compared to his first round stats, and hell, even his regular season numbers, including in Game 2, where he only scored 1 point. Yes, 1 point in 30 minutes played. This was a sign to come with Ben Simmons later in his career, where he displayed extreme passiveness and refusing to be aggressive, attempting to create scoring opportunities, and his lack of a jump shot makes it even tougher for him to do anything scoring wise. Overall, in that series, Simmons averaged 14 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists on 48% shooting. A drop off from his last series and his overall regular season numbers. The very next year, he will take another jump in his game, bumps his numbers from 16 to 17 a game, while giving you 9 rebounds and 8 assists, almost a triple-double, and shot 56% from the field. Despite his increased output, everyone, including, had concerns about his shooting, including me. Not only he couldn't space the floor, but he outright refuses to shoot, which at times teams will try to put 3 guys in the post and force Simmons to shoot, and that will be the main issue going into the playoffs in 2019. Despite that, Simmons will make his first All-Star appearance, an All-NBA team, and was 4th in Defensive Player of the Year, while making his first team All-Defense selection, all while not having a reliable jumper and couldn't make free throws. This is the same year where the Sixers went all in and traded for both Tobias Harris, who was having a career year with the Clippers, along with Jimmy Butler, who forced his way out of Minnesota. After the trade deadline, the Sixers were now touted along with Toronto as the true championship contenders in the East. And the Sixers have proved that by gentlemen sweeping the Nets in the first round. Yet again, Ben Simmons will maintain his regular season numbers in the first round, as said he was far more efficient, but yet again, he will struggle mightily in the second round, particularly against the Raptors. Throughout this series, the Raptors, like I said earlier in the video, heavily sacked off of Simmons and dared him to shoot while completely compromising the space for the Sixers, which limited driving lanes, and that also affected Simmons negatively as far as creating lists for his teammates because of his lack of shooting. Despite him being a near offensive liability, the Sixers still managed to go 7 games with the eventual champion Raptors and lost in a heartbreaking shot made by Kawhi. Still, there were mixed emotions with Simmons. On one side, people believe that he can still be that generational type player, especially him making his first All-Star appearance and first team All-Defense selection, while others view him as the guy that can't be a first option on a championship team and or go deep in the playoffs if he can't space the floor and or have somewhat of a reliable jumper. The Sixers still went ahead and signed him to a 5-year, $170 million rookie max extension that will kick in the 21 season. For Ben Simmons, it was looking like the case for him now, having somewhat of a jumper, especially when he hit that 3-pointer in a preseason game. Now, I know it's the preseason, but it really goes to show some urgent signs that he could have somewhat of an ability to hit a jumper here or there. But yet again, Simmons throughout the 2020 season refuses to shoot. Despite that, he will still make another All-Star appearance along with another All-Defensive team and All-NBA team. But going into the playoffs, he got injured at the wrong time, and even when he was healthy, the Sixers weren't going to compete anyways. They had no spacing because they signed Al Horford, who was a terrible fit to this team, and didn't resign Jimmy Butler. The Sixers in 2020 had a wasted season, especially getting swept by the Celtics once again in the first round. The 2020 offseason is where the Sixers really put their head down as far as getting the guys that fit with both Simmons and Embiid. They brought in Daryl Morey as GM and Doc Rivers as head coach. They traded Al Horford and a couple of picks to the Thunder for Danny Green and also traded for Seth Curry. They revitalized the spacing on this roster, and the Sixers overall had the best record in the Eastern Conference back in 2021. Despite that, I had questions back then whether or not they were championship contenders because you have both Simmons and Embiid that have underperformed multiple times, along with a head coach who is known to choke extremely hard in the playoffs. For Simmons specifically, this is where he is starting to be the most passive he's ever been with the Sixers and never really worked on his game all throughout his time with Philly. Despite him making another All-Star appearance, along with making another All-Defensive team, actually being second in DPOY behind Rudy Gobert, his offensive game declined. He only attempted 10 shots per game and averaged the lowest points per game since his rookie season up until that point, and he still refuses to shoot jumpers, and that will bite him on the ass come playoff time. Despite him playing decent against a meaningless first round outing against the Wizards, Simmons averaged a measly 10 points per game across 7 games in the second round, took only 3 shots in the fourth quarter, yes, 3 shots, including in Game 7 where this man passed up a wide open layup. Teams throughout that playoffs did a hack-a-shack on Ben because Simmons can't shoot free throws. In fact, Simmons shot unbelievably anus, 33% from the charity stripe, which is the worst free throw percentage in NBA history. Simmons was such a liability in the playoffs to the point that even Embiid and Doc Rivers questioned him publicly. I think that this was the straw that broke the camel's back because Simmons have proven that he is a big disappointment and may never become a legit superstar in the NBA, especially going to his age 25 season. This is a part in Ben Simmons' career where this is the beginning of the downfall. During the beginning of training camp, he skipped practices and requested a trade. He later got fined by the team for absence, and when he briefly returned, he refused to do certain team drills and was just lackadaisical in practice. And even Doc Rivers had to kick him out of practice. And then later he reported he had mental health struggles that led to his back issues, which doesn't make any sense. Then the final straw for the Sixers is when they finally got rid of Simmons and traded him to Brooklyn in exchange for James Harden. He continued with his bullshit mental health struggles, might I add, and his actual back issues he's been dealing with that led to him not shooting up for any Brooklyn games in the 2022 season, and then later finally made his debut in the 23 season, and from there he looked like a total shell of himself. He was a complete liability on offense, and more people create memes of him passing up open layups and jump shots in general, and only played 42 games in total that year due to back issues he continues to have. And mind you, he's still getting paid $40 million a year. Yes, a whole bank heist. The following year is the same deal. The only difference is that he only played 15 games and shut down early February of last year to undergo back surgery. At a certain point, we looked at Ben Simmons' career as one of the biggest disappointments in league history. A guy that has all the talent in the world and have players around him to succeed, but his lack of a work ethic, along with him being so mentally weak and passive, is what led to complacency. To continue with his downfall, Simmons will continue to be in and out of lineups last season, and at this point, he's barely an NBA player, let alone a key rotational guy, and eventually Brooklyn will buy out his contract and Simmons will sign with the Clippers on a 1-year minimum, and Simmons continues to show why he's not good enough to even play in the NBA anymore. The guy averaged 3 points, 3 rebounds, and 4 assists on 43% shooting, and mind you, he isn't even shooting threes. And now, Simmons is considering retirement at 29 years old. And me being honest, I don't blame him. He made generational wealth in his time in the NBA, especially with the Sixers, where he absolutely fleeced them. But looking at his overall career, he will be remembered as one of the biggest letdowns in NBA history, and it is 100% self-inflicted. His disappointing career shows a cautionary tale that talent alone is not enough. You have to put in the work every day and adapt, and if you don't, then you will fizzle out quicker than they thought. It's also a tale that playoff performances do define legacies. Simmons have so many underwhelming performances in the playoffs in such a small sample size that he could never recover from. And also his refusal to adapt to the modern game is probably the biggest among the bunch. He never worked on his game, most importantly his jump shot, and that made him super one-dimensional on offense despite him being a great playmaker and defender, and also his mentality and lack of confidence in himself is what led him to fizzle out so quickly. And now, considering retirement, he will go down as one of the biggest disappointments in NBA history. And I've seen disappointments such as Zion Williamson, Andrew Wiggins, Jabari Parker, but none of them had the terrible work ethic nor a horrible mentality towards the game than Ben Simmons. None of them. And that's the video. What are your thoughts on this vid? Is Ben Simmons one of the biggest busts in league history? Let me know, and be sure to subscribe to the channel for more content in the future and turn on post notifications. And that is all. Stay litty. This is the A-Man Show, signing out.